The war had ended 3 months ago, but fear still lingered on the Galactic Council Station like smoke after a raging fire. General Corv Thren stood alone on the observation deck, his massive silhouette framed against the stars. Nearly 3 meters tall, his obsidian-like scales shimmered in the light, and his molten-copper eyes glowed with the legacy of countless battles. He was a living monument to violence. His people, the Shikari, had nearly brought the galaxy to its knees. Now he stood here, not as a conqueror, but as their ambassador, their peace offering, and in all but name, their prisoner. Other species gave him a wide berth. Mant diplomats hurried past without meeting his gaze. The Crystalline Luminari dimmed their inner light when he approached. Even the proud Zenthuri warriors avoided crossing paths with him. All except one human. Arya Kellan had introduced herself on his second day aboard the station. She was small, barely reaching his chest even in formal diplomatic attire. Her dark hair was tied neatly back, and her eyes shone with the deep blues of Earth's oceans. While everyone else found urgent business elsewhere, she walked straight up to him in the central plaza. "General Thren," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Arya Kellan, Human Diplomatic Corps. Welcome to the station." Corv Thren stared at the gesture, confused. She smiled gently. "It's a greeting, a sign of trust." Carefully, almost fearfully, he touched her hand with his clawed fingers, terrified he might tear her fragile skin. Her grip was firm. That was the beginning. Corv Thren never understood why she kept returning. Every morning, she found him wherever he had hidden himself from whispers and fearful glances. She brought coffee, a human drink she insisted he would eventually like, though to him it tasted like burnt soil. She talked about simple things. The station's recycling issues, a new restaurant on the commerce level, her sister's children back on Earth. She never spoke of the war. She never asked about the 17 worlds his fleets had conquered or the billions displaced by his campaigns. She treated him like a person, not a monster. "You don't have to do this," Korvac told her one morning, 3 weeks into their strange routine. As they sat on the observation deck, the only place he felt he could breathe. "You do not need to befriend me. Your people suffered greatly because of me." Arya sipped her coffee, gazing at the stars. "My brother died at the Battle of Proxima Station," she said quietly. He was a communications officer, 23 years old. Corv Thren froze, claws scraping the metal floor as his body tensed. "Then why?" "Because the war is over," she interrupted softly, turning her ocean-colored eyes toward him. "And because someone has to be first. First to forgive. First to trust. First to build the bridge." She smiled sadly. "Might as well be me." Her words struck harder than any weapon. In Shikari culture, strength was everything. Mercy was weakness. Friendship was a liability. For 50 years, he had built his reputation as an unstoppable warrior. A general who never hesitated, who never doubted. Yet this small human made him feel something he hadn't felt in decades. "Shame," he admitted quietly. "I do not deserve your friendship." "Probably not," Arya replied with surprising honesty. "But I'm not offering it because you deserve it. I'm offering it because I believe you can become someone who does." Over the following weeks, their friendship deepened, confusing the entire station. They played strategy games, where Arya's unpredictable human tactics often bested his precise military logic. She introduced him to Earth literature, stories of redemption and second chances. In return, Corv Thren shared the history of the Shikari, how their harsh desert world had forged them into warriors, where survival demanded strength above all else. "But you're not on your desert world anymore," Arya reminded him one evening. "You're here, in a galaxy full of other people. Maybe it's time to be strong in a different way." The real test came during trade negotiations with the Zenthuri delegation. Old wounds had not healed. The Zenthuri ambassador publicly challenged Corv Thren's presence, calling him a butcher who deserved execution, not diplomacy. Corv Thren felt the old rage rising, the instinct to answer insult with violence. His hand moved toward where his ceremonial blade would have hung. The room fell silent, waiting for blood. Then, a small hand touched his arm. Arya stood beside him, barely reaching his elbow. Her touch was light but steady. She said nothing. She didn't need to. That simple gesture reminded him of every conversation they had shared, every cup of coffee, every quiet moment watching the stars. She believed he could be better. Corv Thren took a slow breath and lowered his hand. "You are right to hate me," he said to the Zenthuri ambassador. "I have earned that hatred." But Ambassador Kellan has shown me something. What we learn through violence, we can unlearn through peace. I am trying to become worthy of this second chance. I ask only that you allow me to try. The room stayed silent. Then the Zenthuri ambassador slowly nodded and sat. That night, Arya found Corv Thren again on the observation deck, carrying 2 cups of coffee. That was brave, she said, handing him one. That was terrifying, Corv Thren corrected. In battle, I always knew what to do. Peace is far more difficult. Good, Arya replied with a smile. If it were easy, everyone would do it. Corv Thren looked at the human beside him, the impossibly small being who had dared to see past his scales and claws to find something worth saving. In Shikari, there was no word for what she had given him. The closest translation was honor debt. But even that wasn't enough. It was something deeper, something human. Thank you, he said quietly, for being the first. Arya raised her cup in a playful salute. Someone had to be. Might as well be me. As they sat together, watching the stars, General Corv Thren realized something his entire military career had never taught him. The strongest warriors are not those who never fall, but those brave enough to rise again. And sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to extend their hand and believe in the possibility of change. One human courageous enough to befriend a monster and help him become something more. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.